Hey, what's up, guys? I talked about this in my classes today, and I want to pass along to the rest of the gym. So we have 30 Turkish get-ups for skill work today in the beginning of the workout. And I talked to our classes about the different levels of skill when we talk about that. What does that look like for us in the gym? So I have a little diagram here of practice, training, grind, and then we'll discuss this one down here in a little bit. But if you're new to this movement, the first time you've ever done a Turkish get up before, or maybe you've done it once or twice before, or I say the word Turkish get up and you go, Turkish what? This is you. You're practicing the movement. You're learning the movement. Your heart rate should stay relatively low. And if we follow along this heart rate pattern, if this was rep one, the athlete probably got a cue after this, so they had to stop. It brought their heart rate back down. They did another rep and they got another cue. Then they did a few repetitions and were able to go without getting a cue because they did a good job. Then, coach saw something that popped up. Let's get a little discussion going. Let's talk about that thing. Okay, let's get back at it. They do another rep. They get a cue. They do another few reps without getting a cue. And they're working their way back and forth. But the entire time they can talk and they can have a conversation and they're learning the movement. Now, when we move into training, this is where the athlete will have maybe a little heavier load or is moving a little bit quicker through each one of the steps. And the coach might come in and give them a verbal cue real quick. Hey, push into your arm a little bit more. Or, hey, bring that hip up a little bit higher. And they're able to fix that. But every once in a while, they can't. And so that's where a coach has got to come back in and really stop them for a second, give them a talk about what's going on, have them do a couple reps, and then let them loose. And then come back in, make them stop. And then while there is stopping happening like there was in the practice realm, it's not as often. And it's also a little heavier too, or the person's pushing a little bit more. So this actually should be getting a little sweatier, should be having more of an endocrine response inside of the body. Then we move into grind. Now, this is our athletes that have been around this movement for a long time. They know what a Turkish get-up is. They've done this before. And they may need a little bit of help on some of the steps when they move a little too fast, but they're able to fix it in the moment, specifically even with verbal cueing. So as a coach, like this athlete gets started, I'm like, hey, push into your hand. And they're able to do that without stopping. So their heart rate is elevating pretty high, a lot higher than most of our other athletes would in the class, but it's okay because they're so fit that afterwards they're able to bring it back down and get back to this homeostasis that we want everybody to be at. Now, this last one is what we call competing. And we do this usually once, maybe twice a year, and it's usually in February when the Open comes around. So keep your heart rate away from this one and start to familiarize yourselves with these different ways of training.